everyone. Okay, so this is the second video about conversion factors. So you should already have notes on page 7 with some examples. If you don't have those yet, go back and watch that first video. In this video, I'm just going to do 2 more examples of some different types of conversion factor problems. So this is going to be example number 4. And in this example, we are going to find the area of a 5-inch square in centimeters squared. And I will tell you there are 2.54 centimeters in 1 inch. Okay, so first thing we want to do is set up our grid just like normal. And the number that we're starting with, the number they gave us to start with, is 5 inches squared. We always want to start with the number that's not a ratio. So not this, this is a ratio, this is a conversion factor. We want to start with the 5 inches squared. Okay, so there is our first measurement. Now we want to get rid of inches and get to centimeters. So if I put my conversion factor in here with 1 inch on the bottom and 2.54 centimeters on the top, that will cross out one of my inches, but since I have inches squared, I basically have inches times inches up here. So this unit does not entirely cancel out this unit because I have inches squared here, but just inches here. So what I actually need to do is multiply by this conversion factor again. So 2.54 centimeters over 1 inch. All right, so if I do that, these 2 inches together will cross out my inches squared. And then I just have to multiply across the top. So I'll do 5 times 2.54 times 2.54. And that will give me 32.26. We'll round it up to that. And then my unit is going to be centimeters squared, which is good because that's what the problem was asking me for. Okay, so that's how you do problems where you start with something squared or cubed. You can do cubed as well, then you just have to do 3 conversion factors. And how you get it into something that's also squared or cubed. Okay, the other example I want to show you is this one. We want to convert a speed. So 5.6 meters per second to miles per hour. And I will tell you there are 1.609 kilometers in a mile. Okay, so we're going to start with a grid again. And we're going to start with the number they gave us. Now, this one's a little bit weird because usually the number you start with just has 1 unit up here. But see how it's asking me for 2 units in the end? I want to end up with 2 units. That means I need to start with 2 units. So I'm going to start with 5.6 meters. And since it's per second, that means seconds goes down here. And this is actually a 1. Like 5.6 meters per second is 5.6 meters per 1 second. Those are the same thing. Okay, so now I'm going to need to convert meters to miles and seconds to hours. So I can start with whichever one I want to. I'm going to start with meters. Now, I don't have the number of meters in a mile, but I do have the number of kilometers in a mile. So let's get to kilometers. So we know there are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. You should have that conversion factor memorized. Meters cross out. So now I'm in kilometers per second. And then to get from kilometers to miles, I'm going to put my 1.609 kilometers down here and the 1 mile up here. So kilometers will cross out. Now I'm in miles per second, but I want to be in miles per hour. So what I can do is I can actually cross out my seconds from way over here. So I know there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. That crosses out seconds. And I know there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. All right, so that's a lot of things that I need to multiply and divide, but we can do it. So 5.6 times 60 times 60. So that's 20,160 on top. And on top I have miles for my unit. And on the bottom I need to do 1,000 times 1.609. That's going to be 1,609, and that is hours down there. And when I divide those, I get 12.5 miles per hour. Okay, so always make sure that you write your units in your answer and while you're doing the crossing out. Okay, one of the biggest problems people run into is when they try to do these problems without writing down units. If you do that, you're going to get really confused because you're going to forget where different units go. If you always write your units, then you can always see whether or not they cancel. And then, of course, in your answer, it's just good practice to write down your units. On the assignment that you're going to be doing, some of the problems are a little bit more like story problems. So I wanted to give you just a couple of tips for those problems. There are some words that kind of mean that you are talking about ratios when you use them. So for example, well, we can actually look up here. If you see the words in a, 1.609 kilometers in a mile, that means that's a conversion factor, right? We use that as a conversion factor right here. If you see per, so for example, we're just gonna write these down, ratio words. So if you see in a, or for every, so like for every mile there are 1.609 kilometers, or per, 1.609 kilometers per mile, all of those are indicators that that is a conversion factor or a ratio that you need to use in your problem. So let me know if you have any questions, and have a great day.